singing out of them. In Malawi, it didn't take very long at all. In fact, as you're walking into a new group, they'll be singing for you, and I'm not sure quite why, but didn't seem to do it quite as much as the Malawians. They seem to be more into it than this lot. Whether they've been influenced or not, I don't know, but once you get them going, it's great. They sing really well. Before I get to this, once again with that group we did the kingdom, we did the word of truth as well, did the devil, and by that stage the two guys who had come from a long way away. You've got to realise that some of these, they work obviously, and then they spend all night travelling to get there, so they hadn't slept, and then we spoke till about 4 o'clock or something I think, and then they were shot. So they went to bed, so that was an early finish. So we went home and ended up in the bush. Put it in four-wheel drive, but for some reason it didn't go in, so I ended up putting it in the bush. But it wasn't my fault, just like to say. Someone had randomly left a bike parked in the middle of the road and just disappeared. So I tried to go around, and eventually I drove along the bush. The mirror did stay on, but wasn't happy. So that's the sort of thing that you get to look forward to when you do these sorts of trips. I keep saying to Joshua, do I go faster? No, slow, Greg, slow. Nice and slow. Yeah. Sure, speed would have helped. Maybe go through the fence quicker. So the second day of the third group, Joshua's church came and joined us, and we swelled to about 50 people. We actually had to move into the dining room because the Deborah Ministries were there. So we ended up in the eating area with 50 people, so it was quite packed. So they got to hear a bit of teaching as well. Both sides of the room all full. Obviously Sunday morning we took communion, did the bread and wine. Some did and some didn't. John, said to them, if you want to let it by because you don't quite understand, that's fine. Others wouldn't take communion with other people they didn't think were believers. But each one to their own. That Sunday morning, I did the Jewish talk again. John did a talk on being saved because there was a question, I think the day before, about what is it to actually be saved? What's required to be saved? So that night we put together a small talk on it, and John presented that. And we also did a talk on the oneness of God. The wine glasses. Handed out the glasses again. We sort of, the first time John had gone, they all wanted real strong ones, so we took a lot of strong ones, and this time they all wanted the weaker ones. So we went downtown and found some for approximately a couple of dollars each, and bought up a whole lot more and gave a whole lot more out. So you can't blame people for wanting to learn. That's a good thing. So that ended the 3 lessons we had with the people in Bongoma. So it's always a good thing. Kingdom of God, the doctrines. Is the Word of God important? Just really good basic doctrines and principles of God. You've got to remember, a lot of these people are getting a Bible, and some of them have never had one before. And we were giving them to them in Swahili, which is their own language, which is even better again. Obviously they can all understand that. And at that time, I think it's probably a good point to thank some people in the church who gave extra money for Bibles. There were donations given. The church gave a donation, which was really good. But then certain people within the church, who I won't name, gave some really generous donations, and some of them may not have had a lot of money, but they wanted to give money for Bibles, so it was really awesome. So thank you to whoever did that. Sorry it's a bit dark, but it's the third group. And good old hooray. So from there we had one more day of teaching. So that was 6 days there, and then we had this one day at a place called Eldoret, which again is about 3¼ hours away. And when I say 3¼ hours away, that might only be 100 k's, but some really good roads, just potholes, and just random speed humps, quite often with no warnings. So if I didn't see them, hopefully someone else did. I think I might have missed a couple, but got anyone through the roof. Now this guy here, this is Tim. Now he's a cousin of Amos's, and he's a Pentecostal pastor in Eldoret, and he'd got together a group of about 40 guys who some he'd already spoken to the first time when John went. He was a Christadelphian, but he's Pentecostal now. So we had to start with only about 20 because it was Africa time, you know. Turn up late when you feel like it. We only had about 4 hours with them, so what we've done is we've put together a little talk again on how to study the Bible. You know, things like the meanings of words. You know, the Bible was written in Greek and Hebrew. You need to go back to the original meanings, and also things like reading things in their context, like the passage of Lucifer, which only ever appears once in the Bible and probably only in the King James. You know, but in its context, if you read the verses before, it tells you who Lucifer is. So just things like that, just on how you should be looking at the Bible, because it wasn't written in English and it wasn't written in Swahili. So did that first, and then I'm not sure why, but John decided I'll talk to them on the devil. Now that was a real interesting exercise, because after he did his devil talk, once again he opened it up to question time. Now, between him starting the devil talk and the end of it, it filled up to about 44 pastors, I think, we ended up with. And when question time came, some of them were, "Are you saying there's no devil?" You know, they hadn't been there for the whole talk, they'd missed a lot. They asked questions on Lucifer, which you already covered, which was really frustrating, and you felt like standing up and saying, for goodness sake, if you turned up on time, you would have had all this. Yeah. But as it turned out, we didn't need to, because one of the other guys, he said, "You guys all need to be quiet. You know, you can ask questions if you came here right from the start. We've already covered that, and I want lunch." So I think he was just a bit annoyed that these guys were asking questions about things that were already covered because of their own slackness, if you like. Just wandered in as it suited them. After lunch, so we had the discussion on the devil. After lunch, the numbers dropped again. And one of the main reasons, I think, is John had a particular guy who was interpreting for him. And he clearly got what John was teaching. And while John was teaching, there was a lot of discussion, a bit of laughing and that going on. And he said, "Look what you've started. You've started something here, because they get paid to drive out demons. When you say there's no demons, no pay." So I don't know whether they were just too full to come back, but they did come back afterwards. So we didn't have a lot of time, and John did the talk on Tell Me What It Cost Them, the William Tyndale one again, which was really good. There was a bit of singing here. You can notice the keyboard in the background from the mic, and he had a speaker, and it was really loud. Like, I don't mind loud music, but you know how you get that loud music through a really distorted speaker? It's not good, eh? It's not good. But I think I've got a little piece here which isn't too bad, which they did some singing for us. And we were sitting, speaker was there and we were sitting right there, so it wasn't so good. So yeah, that was just one of the slides off John's talk that you've all seen. quite Pentecostal really, but yeah, he was a good singer. Just was through a distorted mic, which made it interesting. So yeah, no, that was a bit of fun. So from there, obviously, we went back. So we finished with that group, and I'm sure God sent us there for a reason. You know, some of them might not have come back after lunch, but you know, there were plenty there that did and listened, carried on. So that was good. So the next day, we had essentially a day off, and instead of just sitting around, we decided to go and have a look, because hiring the motels and hotels can be a bit problematic. Amos organised it all, but at the end, when we were paying at the first motel in Wongoma, the guy realised the white men were paying and he wanted more money for a white man's thing, which, you know, leaves a bit of a sour taste. It should be the same for everyone, you know, just because. And that's what it's like in Africa. If you're white, everyone thinks you've got money. Yeah. It's just the way it is. And I mean, you can't blame half of them. They live in poverty. So, you know, what would we be like if we were in that place? I don't know. But anyway, they were telling us that quite a good way to do these sorts of things is to hire out a hall somewhere and get the people to come and tent. Then you don't have to pay for them to be housed and all that. And he said, you know, people are happy to do that. You just wouldn't want to do it in rainy season, I presume. But then they were telling us about this place here. Now, I think they said it was Iranian money that they got a hold of. One of the local politicians, he basically bribed the people for their votes by building this with Iranian money. And essentially it's unused. Okay, it's the flashest building in the district, and it's unused. It's on a school property. They actually built two buildings. There's one on the other side, which is a little bit of it's in a couple of other slides, but it's where the school uses the rooms like schoolrooms. So a bit of it is used, but this building here just seems to be used for storing a few bags of maize, and that's it. Yeah. You can see there's just sort of nothing in it. Really echoey there, so it might not be very good for doing talks and things in, but just an absolute waste. You know, you would think they bend over backwards to use a building like that. I'm not sure what John's up to. He thinks he's a schoolmaster, he's caning someone. So yeah, that was just the rooms in the other building, which was as flash as that one on the outside. But yeah, it's used for storing. You can see it's just looking back to the first one. It's quite flash really, considering what you normally see. Yeah, just next to that building there was a family of people putting the grain out to dry, and apparently they put it out, and it's a big tart. It would be, I don't know, 2 or 3 times the size of this floor area here, all covered in grain. Apparently it's down one day, up within that day. Or if it looks like it's going to rain, they pick it all up again. So quite time consuming, but they're just drying it out before they grind it up. Anyone know what that is?
Coffee?
Yeah, coffee beans. Obviously grow plenty of coffee there and dry it out and then grind that up, I presume, as well. It's about 1 kilometre from Joshua's place, all of this. And this is across the road from the school, and that's the local shop. Okay, bread and milk and whatever, bags of sugar or something. You can see it's all caged up because they obviously need to worry about thievery. Some of the kids, they love having their photos taken, and if you can show them what you've taken, they just go spastic. They would have never seen it before. You know, here's this image of them on this funny thing. So yeah, it's just the track we walked along. It's the family with some of the kids. Now this is at the front of Joshua's place. Okay, it's a shop. Can anyone tell me what it does? There's a huge clue there, right there. Can't you see it? It's a hairdresser. You know those? Not that I know, but those things that they put on women's heads to dry or something. It's one of those. I think you put the hair in the curlers and then you sit them under this drying thing. And that's what they were doing in that little building there, hairdresser. Plus selling a few bags of little things. That was the water trough where everyone could come and get water from Joshua's pool. We also went and visited Amos and his wife Ramla. This is their cider cafe, which I think Daniel had photos of this from memory. It's called Amorous. That's obviously Amos and Ramla's first two letters in their names. And that's their cyber cafe. Cyber cafe for checking emails and things. That's Ramla and their young daughter. So it's tiny. It's a real pokey little thing with about 6 computers. It's also the local video arcade. So don't think they're that poor because they can afford money to go and play video games at the local cyber cafe. And apparently they were paying to do it, so that's quite interesting. Nearly at the end. When we were driving back from Bongoma back to Joshua's house, we kept driving past all of this rock formation. I took a few photos which I'll just flick through for you.